Many people, especially those living in cooler climates, often associate palms with warm, sunny tropical locations, beaches, and vacations. Floridians may immediately think of our state tree, the sable palm, also known as the cabbage palm, when palms are mentioned. In reality, while most of the approximately 2,700 species of palms are found in tropical and subtropical climates, many species grow in temperate climates. Historically, humans have made good use of palms. Besides their pleasing aesthetic appearance in the landscape, food and wine have been derived from palms, and their fronds and trunks have been used for shelter construction. Care of palms in the Florida landscape can be challenging due to several factors. Over the years, some species of palms have been transported to areas outside their native regions. In less than favorable environments outside their native range, palms can face challenging growth conditions which make them vulnerable to certain pests and disorders. In this video, I'll discuss the biology of palms, transplanting, and maintaining palms. Another challenge is due to the fact that palms are not true trees. Although most people may refer to palms as trees, in actuality they are more anatomically similar to grasses, which are monocots. Unlike true trees, palms' vascular tissues are arranged in bundles scattered throughout their trunks, typical of grasses. This means that the trunks of palms do not produce secondary growth, thus no annual growth rings. Consequently, palms are unable to repair damage such as wounding to their trunks. Another factor is that each palm stem possesses only a single apical meristem where new growth arises. True trees have, in addition to an apical meristem, lateral meristems which allow the tree to develop new shoots should damage occur to the apical meristem. In palms, damage to the apical meristem must be avoided or the palm will die. Palms can be divided into those with and without crown shafts and those with feather-like and fan-like leaves. The trunk is the stem of the palm. Some palm trunks swell at the base as they develop with age. The crown shaft is a tubular or cylindrical shaft above the trunk and below the crown. It consists of the leaf bases of all the leaves that are presently on the palm. The crown is the sum of the leaves at the top of the trunk. In this diagram, you can see even more parts of the palm. At the base, you can see the roots. Do you think they look different than tree roots? That's because they are. Palm roots are similar in size and have no taproot or lateral roots, similar to grasses. When you transplant a palm, a majority of the roots are chopped off because they won't survive, so the palm has to grow a new set of roots from the base. You may notice that newly transplanted palms may have the fronds bundled or most of them cut off. This is so that the palm can focus most of its energy into regrowing roots, although research recommends untying bundled leaves as soon as the palm is installed. I mentioned the fronds, or palm leaves. A young leaf is called a spear. The inflorescence is the flowers, which later turn into fruits. When it comes to leaf anatomy, there are three types of leaves. Palmate leaves, such as in the fan palms, have a petiole at the base, blade which makes up the bulk, and then leaflet segments. The segments are fused and fan out at the end of the petiole. Costa palmate leaves, such as in the sable palm, have a petiole and a costa. The costa goes throughout the entire blade, which contain the fused leaflet segments. The last type is the pinnate leaf, such as in the date palm. It starts with a leaf sheath followed by the petiole. Instead of a costa, this type has a rachis which goes through the palm blade. It has separated leaflets, which often appears somewhat feathery looking. These features will help you with identification. Some palms will have single trunks, such as the queen palm, while others have multi-trunks, like the lady palm shown here. Often the multi-trunk palms are more shrub-like. Planting a palm has similarities and differences to planting a tree. Planting holes for container-grown palms should be roughly twice the diameter of the container in order to facilitate uniform and complete backfilling of the hole. Unlike trees, the hole should only be as deep as the root ball, not above grade. Therefore, it should be level with the existing soil. Planting palms too deep or shallow is a common reason why palms don't survive transplanting. When backfilling palm planting holes, be sure to wash soil down into all voids to eliminate air pockets by placing a hose into the ground until saturated. A shallow berm should be constructed around the perimeter of the root ball of the newly transplanted palm to retain water in the root ball area during irrigation. The soil around the root ball should be kept uniformly moist but never saturated during the first 4 to 6 months following transplanting. You should water daily for the first 30 days. It can take up to a year for a palm to become established. If mulch is applied, it should not be touching the stem. Tall palms should be provided with supports to prevent toppling over in high winds and to provide a stable root ball soil interface. Deep planting is not an acceptable alternative to mechanical support. An excellent method for providing support to a tall palm during establishment is to strap short lengths of 2 by 4 inch lumber to the trunk and nail the support timbers into those pieces. Supports should be left in place for about a year. Support timbers must not be nailed directly into the trunks, since any wounds to a palm trunk are permanent and can allow for entry of pathogens. Container-grown palms have been shown to benefit greatly from high nitrogen fertilization at planting time, since the bulk of their root system is confined to the nitrogen-demanding potting soil in which they were produced. For their first 6 to 12 months, these palms should be fertilized with high nitrogen-controlled release fertilizers like those used for container production. Transplanted field-grown palms have also been shown to benefit from light fertilization with an 8-2-12-4 magnesium-controlled release fertilizer at planting, even though they have lost the majority of their root systems. Regular maintenance fertilization with this material can begin as soon as new shoot growth is observed. Nutrient deficiencies are more easily prevented than corrected once they occur. Correction of nutrient deficiencies can take as long as 2 or 3 years for some elements. Research at UF-IFAS has shown that regular use of a fertilizer having an analysis of 8 nitrogen, 2 P2O5, 12 K2O, and plus 4 magnesium with micronutrients can correct mild to moderate deficiencies and prevent their reoccurrence in most soil types in South and Central Florida. However, not all fertilizers that have an analysis of A2-12-4 with micronutrients are effective, and if improperly formulated, may be worse for palm health than no fertilizer at all. It is essential that 100% of the nitrogen, potassium, and magnesium in such a fertilizer be in slow-release form. Since Florida's soils have very low capacities to retain these elements in the root zone during periods of heavy rainfall or irrigation, the only effective way to keep these elements readily available to plants during the 2 to 3 month interval between fertilizer applications is to use slow-release sources. It is recommended to apply fertilizer 3 times a year using 1.5 pounds of fertilizer per 100 square feet of palm canopy area, bed area, or landscape area. A properly fertilized and pruned palm like the one in the photo should have a round canopy with green leaves right down to the bottom. Consumers must be educated that palms are supposed to have round crowns, not feather duster crowns. Secondly, not all palms require pruning. Palms with crown shafts should never need pruning if properly fertilized. A healthy old leaf will be completely green one day, completely orange-brown the second day, and completely brown the third day, when it should fall off by itself. This is natural senescence. Half-dead old leaves that remain on the palm for months at a time are usually deficient in potassium. Unfortunately, this is what we commonly see in palms around Florida. If palms are over-pruned, the reduction in canopy size results in reduced photosynthetic capacity. In the short term, some studies have shown that over-pruning can result in greater leaf production rates, but the resulting leaves were smaller in size than those on unpruned palms. If this practice is repeated frequently, the palm may also develop a smaller trunk diameter. Pruning old K-deficient leaves can also impact palm health. Potassium, like nitrogen and magnesium, is a mobile element within the palm. Thus, symptoms occur first on the oldest leaves, as these are depleted of their potassium in order to sustain growth of the new leaves. If these older discolored leaves are removed, the palm then removes potassium from the next leaves up within the canopy that are currently green and symptom-free. Traditionally, arborists have been asked to prune palms prior to their arrival of hurricane season. Hurricane-cut palms have most of their leaves cut off, leaving only a tuft of youngest leaves intact. The intent was to reduce wind resistance in the palm, thereby protecting it from wind damage. However, observations of palms after the severe hurricane seasons of 2004 and 2005 in Florida showed that these hurricane-cut palms were more likely to have their crowns snapped off than those with fuller crowns. This may be because the youngest leaves left on these overpruned palms have not hardened off to the extent that older leaves have and lack the support of the older leaf bases. Additionally, overpruned palms such as this cabbage palm might flower more in response to removing too many live fronds. It is always safe to remove dead leaves and fruit stalks. Leaves broken down by high winds can be taken off unless following a hurricane they are the only leaves left on the palm. then they should be left on, as palm recovery will be enhanced. Removing inflorescences is harmless to palms and prevents the mess of fruits later in the year. Although palm fruits can be attractive, when they fall they can be very messy. Falling coconuts can be a human hazard as well and are often removed from palms in public places. Palm pruning is done primarily for aesthetic purposes. From the palm's perspective, there is no one time of the year that is better than another. While the pruning regime discussed above is ideal for palms, it is unrealistic to expect that everyone will go to the effort and expense of correcting the potassium deficiency in their palms. It is a slow process that can take 3 years or longer. Thus, ANSI pruning standards for palms state that no leaves with tips above the horizontal plane, 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. positions on a clock face, should be removed. Leaves should be cut close to the trunk, but never cut into the trunk with a machete, as this can result in wounds that have been shown to allow the labiopsis trunk rot, a lethal disease, to become established. For this reason, one should never pull off leaves that do not pull off easily. By pulling hard enough to eventually free these leaves, a small strip of trunk tissue will also tear off, again resulting in a wound that is readily colonized by the labiopsis. If Fusarium, a deadly fungal pathogen, is present, sterilize the tools between trees. Trees with Fusarium should be removed. Finally, never use climbing spikes for pruning palm leaves, because wounds caused by the spikes will never heal and become entry sites for diseases such as the labiopsis trunk rot or attractants for serious insect pests such as palm weevils. In this video, I hope you learned how palms are different than trees and that the transplanting, pruning, and even fertilization are also different.